The last patient never leaves. Dr. Evelyn Hart had worked in St. Augustine's Hospital for nearly 2 decades. 42, recently divorced, and with no children, she had dedicated everything to her career. Her co-workers admired her dedication, though some whispered that she spent so much time at the hospital because she had nowhere else to go. On a rainy Thursday night, Evelyn was finishing up paperwork when the emergency lights in the hall flickered. A nurse hurried in, her face pale, and said an ambulance had just dropped off a patient who didn't seem right. Evelyn sighed. Odd cases always came in when she was about to leave, but she followed the nurse anyway. The patient was a young man in his early 20s, thin, trembling, and barefoot. His skin was clammy, his lips cracked, and his eyes kept darting around the ER as though tracking something no one else could see. The paramedics explained they had found him alone, standing in the middle of an abandoned highway. He hadn't resisted, but he hadn't spoken either, just kept whispering under his breath. When Evelyn leaned closer to examine him, his lips moved again. She strained to hear. "They're already here." Her stomach tightened. She asked who he meant, but the man didn't respond. Instead, his body went rigid, and the heart monitor began spiking erratically. Evelyn touched his wrist, checking for a pulse. But his heartbeat felt slow, almost calm, completely at odds with the screen flashing above him. Before she could speak again, the fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and dimmed. The room seemed to grow colder. Then the young man's eyes fixed on hers. His pupils expanded until his irises disappeared, leaving only black. He whispered hoarsely, "You shouldn't have touched me." Evelyn froze. A strange static filled her ears, muffling every sound around her. The nurse standing nearby opened her mouth as if to scream, but Evelyn couldn't hear it, just the steady, growing hum inside her skull. The man convulsed violently. His body arched upward, then collapsed back onto the bed with a sickening thud. The monitors went dead. Evelyn reached for the defibrillator, but then stopped. The man was sitting upright. His movements were too sharp, too deliberate. His head tilted slowly, unnaturally, like a puppet's. He was staring directly at her, his lips twitching into the faintest smile. And then he lay back down, perfectly still, as though nothing had happened. The nurse bolted from the room. Evelyn's instincts screamed to follow, but her legs refused to move. She forced herself to back away, hands trembling. The light steadied again. Everything was silent. But Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that the young man wasn't alone in that bed, that something unseen was standing beside him. She tried to shake it off, returning to her office. But that night, as she reviewed patient files, she felt eyes on her. The hum returned in her ears, faint at first, then louder. When she looked up, she saw him. The young man was standing at the far end of the corridor, barefoot, hospital gown trailing on the floor. His head was tilted, just like before. The fluorescent lights above him flickered with each step he took. Evelyn blinked. And he was gone. Her pager buzzed suddenly, making her jump. It was ICU, reporting that the young man had gone into full cardiac arrest. Evelyn rushed to the ward with 2 other doctors. But when they arrived, the bed was empty. The restraints lay unbuckled, the sheets still warm. The security cameras showed nothing, no one entering, no one leaving. Patients in nearby rooms began complaining of whispers at night. Some said they saw a man standing at the foot of their beds. One elderly woman refused to sleep, insisting that if she closed her eyes, the boy in the gown would come back. Around 3 a.m., while walking past the surgical wing, she noticed something that stopped her dead. One of the operating theaters, the one that had been locked for years, was glowing faintly. The light inside pulsed, as though something was moving across it. She pushed the door open. The operating room was empty. Completely empty. Except, on the operating table lay a folder. A patient file. Her name on the cover. Evelyn Hart. She flipped it open with trembling fingers. Inside were photographs of her apartment, her car, even her bedroom. Recent ones. Too recent. Her chest tightened as the lights buzzed overhead. A reflection in the glass surgical cabinet caught her eye. She turned slowly. In the reflection, she wasn't alone. The young man was standing directly behind her, eyes black, head tilted, whispering, "Your turn." The lights went out. And in the darkness, Evelyn finally understood what the others had seen. The last patient never leaves.